Hello there, I'm MountPain27, and this is Dean of Doom, the show we give grades to classic and contemporary Doom wads. You know, now that I think about it, I could probably change my intro to say classic and contemporary Doom 2 wads. Other than Doom itself, UAC Dead, and John Romero's contemporary work, not a single Doom 1 pwad has appeared on this show. I think it's time we fixed that. Today we're going to have ourselves a Doom 1 double feature, starting with Stickney Installation, a vanilla-compatible megawad released in 2022 by Snaxalotl. Named after the biggest crater on Mars' larger moon, Stickney Installation's premise is similar to many Doom 1 pwads in that it draws directly from the original for inspiration, but don't mistake Stickney for one of the many E1 copycats out there. Snaxalotl doesn't remake id's maps, she collects loose elements from them and organically reprises those ideas within her own creations. Stickney single-handedly reversed my stance that Doom 1 combat is intrinsically boring. These maps are the ideal size for binging and remarkably lively even with an amputated monster roster. Snaxalotl is one of the most prolific and talented mappers in the game right now, so all aboard the hype train, folks. Before we take all our super shotguns and megaspheres after the curb, here's how the show works. Every map gets one grade for quality and one for difficulty. Quality grades go from A to F. Grade A levels are fun, memorable, visually distinctive, creative, and a fair challenge. We grade difficulty from X to E, X for extreme, E for easy, A through D in between. Keep in mind, my idea of a grade map is probably not the same as yours, but that's okay. Disagreeing is part of the fun, after all. At the end of the day, this show is about spreading the joy of Doom. So let's do so. Before we start, the rules are we play on ultra-violence and must pistol start each level. I need to play the wad twice before reviewing it. Saves are allowed, and we go for 100% kills in all levels, making exceptions when it's just not worth it. I play on Z-Doom, and Stickney's compatibility is vanilla. Now, to the wad. E1M1, Insertion. This blink or you'll miss it moon base packs 2 secrets and a dash of violence into a 60-second runtime. Brave the radiation corridor for a pair of medikits and grab these health bonuses to reveal a switch that opens a courtyard mega armor. Beating it is trivial, but Insertion does an excellent job channeling the urgency and curiosity of Doom's very first map. Grade B, difficulty E. E1M2, Reactor Core. Bolstered by a groovy Imps song remix, Reactor Core drips with danger. It's littered with flickering emergency lights, soaked in toxic sludge, and crammed with hungry zombies. Unless you have a long dip in the poison pools, you should be able to breeze through this one, but watch your shells. Tutorial level Doom 1 combat is all about putting the fear of being stranded with a pistol into players. The backup generator powered lighting and niftily hidden secrets really hook me. Grade B, difficulty E. E1M3, Filtration Plant. Hammerheads like me are in for a rude awakening. The start of Filtration Plant is standing room only with shotgunners, pinkies, and specters. Suspend shells wisely and don't bite off more than you can chew. With a rad suit, a loaded shotgun, and a chain gun if you're extra observant, your load will lighten significantly. Filtration Plant's aftermath makes for a great scavenger hunt. Inquisitive types who interact with this terminal will be rewarded with the sound of a lowering lift, a shootable switch, and a yellow key, which unlocks the secret exit and piles of plunder. This is one of Stickney's early highlights. Grade A-, difficulty D. E1M9, Demon Housing. Pressure is the operative word in this slime-based slugfest. Hot out of the gate, a hail of fireballs and a squadron of shotgunners will be on your tail. If you have the gumption to go for Romero's rocket launcher early, you'll have to reckon with a parade of pigs, while imps flood in from all around. The closest thing to a gimmick this map has is Medical Starvation. It offers just 75 points of health pickups and 1 green armor. Scarcity done well like this rewards aggressive play with a dopamine rush. I never would have found the secret chain gun without looking at a map editor, which ironically makes 2 E1M9 chain guns that I needed help to find. Grade B, difficulty D+. E1M4, Control Center. Proceed with caution. I hit a wall here during my first 2 Stickney playthroughs. Control Center's tight-fisted shell disbursement and health allowance don't bode well for running gunners. Don't waste barrels, use the pistol, and if you can survive the ambush at the top of the single-use lift and nab the armor, push to the chain gun and you got this in the bag. E1M4 was never my favorite Doom map, but this concise adaptation keeps players honest and its MIDI rocks the house. Grade B, difficulty C. E1M5, Data Storage. After another nervous opening fight whose outcome depends on how many bullets it takes to kill the first shotgunner you see, Data Storage wanders into generic territory. Stickney rarely relies this heavily on id Software landmarks. Only the secrets hold any appeal for me here. This will be a big-time shotgun workout if you don't drop down on these crates for a secret Gatling gun, and you'll find a late and fairly useless rocket launcher if you spot this hidden switch. Data Storage is E1's lowlight for me, but take that with a grain of salt. I'm not big on knee-deep in the dead style maps to begin with. Grade C, difficulty D. E1M6, Drilling Compound. This dusky slime base cranks the monster count as high as it'll go in Stickney. Drilling Compound wears its green and bronze proudly and keeps the action coming at a steady clip. Expect lots of traps and stay stocked up on bullets in case of stampedes. The 2 fake wall secrets agree with Romero's self-serving deathmatch design ethos, but they're a bit wonky in practice. You'll definitely want that rocket launcher for this pinky pit at the end though. Think fast. Grade B, difficulty D+. E1M7, Anomaly Research. I think Snaxalotl restrained her experimental side in Phobos Protocol for the sake of dramatic contrast. With its 3-key ring around the rosy and obligatory mainframe you can dig a rocket launcher out of, Anomaly Research plays like a streamlined computer station with a power outage, but its ending makes a much bigger impression. This wicked red corridor pops out of the screen, beckoning the player into the madness beyond. Bring it on, I say. Grade B-, difficulty D+. E1M8, Phobos Gate. The standard Bruiser Brothers boss battle has a fairly low ceiling for potential thrills nowadays, and I think Snaxalotl bumped her head on it with Phobos Gate. Setting the tone with an alien combination of red, fire blue, and dead quiet, Phobos Gate explodes into action when you disturb the shadow of the poison pentagram. Teleporters fall silent, dump your ammo into the surviving grunts, and make peace with God, because nobody leaves E1M8 alive. Grade A-, difficulty D. E2M1, Derelict. Between barrages of shotgun blasts, Derelict introduces the fractured visual language of Stickney E2's half-hellified world. The secret red key tucked away in the dark unlocks a mega armor that will mostly benefit continuous players. The demon's offensive is uncoordinated, and you get plenty of shells to offset the lack of plasma rifle. It took me far too long to realize that Derelict's 2 zones are each other's inversions. The blood on the ceiling in the lighter dimension gives it away. This is a smart, eerie, and thematically strong opener. Grade B+, difficulty D. E2M2, Melded Compound. Excuse me, pardon me, just trying to get to the Berserk pack. Thank you. Melded Compound downsizes Tom and Sandy's crate maze, but preserves and elaborates on Containment Area's other tomfoolery with its irradiated sectors, ghostly machinery, dead-end doors, anti-gravity, and a whole bunch of crushers. I like the fresh take on this resupply room. Depending on the teleporter you choose, you could win a backpack, rockets, or a box of bullets. E2M2 marks a turning point for Stickney's combat because Snaxalotl loves the Berserk pack and insists that you do also. Piss away your ammo and find out. I'm not actually speaking from experience, mind you. I zerk compulsively in Doom 1 WADs because if you know how to use it, it's practically your super shotgun. Melded Compound's hit-scan-free playground is twisted, jib-splattered fun. Grade B+, difficulty D+. E2M3, Nukeworks, and the award for most improved Doom 1 concept goes to Nukeworks. This frenetic sandbox map applies pinky pressure brilliantly, serves up a fresh combination of fisticuffs and shotgun action, uses damaging floor as a motivator rather than a health suck, and redeems Sandy Peterson's silly pen of cacodemons by crushing them when their usefulness expires. Nukeworks can be cruel to the oblivious and those obstinately opposed to punching stuff. Just keep moving, pay attention to what lowers when you hit switches, and pick your battles wisely. You'll be okay. This is always one of my favorite Stickney maps to revisit. Grade A-, difficulty C. E2M4? The Shores of Hell is my favorite episode in the original Doom, mostly because it can still make the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. You'd be hard-pressed to find a more worthy torchbearer for id Software's uncanny brand of horror than Snaxalotl. After being dropped in toxic muck by the map's first teleporter, you need to squeeze through a glut of dark dwellers following a trail of shotgun shells to this radsuit closet. Shielded from corrosive slime, you'll have a lot more mobility, resources, and intel to draw on, provided you played Doom before. Check behind the demon face walls if you don't want to be stuck with the shotgun for the vicious final fight. Question Mark's gameplay seizes the spotlight from its environment. Its balance of aggression, exploration, and survivalism is stellar. Grade A-, difficulty C-. E2M5, Stranded Barracks. The resemblance between Stickney E1M7 and this map's opening shot made me double check to make sure there wasn't a parallel thing going on between Sandy and John's originals. There isn't. Stranded Barracks is a bit of an oddity for Stickney. It's comparatively rambling, uses the only non-community-made MIDI in the megawad, and favors a slow-paced dungeon crawl approach to combat. Don't get me wrong, compared to Command Center, Stranded Barracks is straightforward and fun, but its mashed-up, overgrown aesthetic isn't much handsomer than Sandy's, and the final fight feels off. There's no need for poison floor if you're going to give me 4 radsuits, and the Barons are overkill. Grade B-, difficulty C-. Footnote, if you think you're clever like me and duck out of this room to avoid an ambush, you're not soft locked. Hop in the slime and take the elevator up. E2M9, Pain Per View. I mean, yeah, it's just a room with Baron and Cacodemon gangs that you pull a Yojimbo on, but the cramped arena, delicate balance of supplies, and lighthearted title and presentation make Pain Per View much more entertaining than you'd think. I actually kind of love it, which makes me feel a smidge guilty about failing Fortress of Mystery 3 years ago. Ah well. Grade B, difficulty D-. E2M6, Maintenance Network. Okay, that's fine. I wasn't planning on sleeping tonight anyway. To put in perspective how unnerving this map is, I've beaten Maintenance Network 3 times, and I still had the urge to check and make sure my front door was locked after recording this. Maintenance Network bleeds suspense, starting you at low health and strapped for ammo, tempting you with goodies that are about as safe to go after as paper boats and gutters, and funneling you through an asphyxiating system of corridors that only gets darker the deeper you venture. Maintenance Network's deliciously sinister MIDI is a Snaxalotl original. It sounds like something Aubrey Hodges would compose after a month in solitary confinement. One very obscure secret will give you a 2-minute reprieve from your fear of the dark, but I'm not going to tell you where it is. Grade A, difficulty C. E2M7, Lost Quarry. For astute pupils of Berserk Punch, Lost Quarry will be a nice respite before the showdown with Big Goat. Snax doesn't impress much of her own vision on the E2M7 template, piggybacking off of Sandy's work for most of the prominent scenes here. Rampaging with a combination of Zerk and Invuln is always a treat, and this not-so-secret referential plasma rifle will keep Lost Quarry's craziest moments to a dull roar. Maybe this is just Z-Doom being itself, but I did get soft-locked while gathering footage for this one. I had to beg one of these demons down here to let me in the building. How embarrassing. I also found you can trick one of these morons into taking the one-time teleporter trap that drops you on a pain sector the room over in your stead. This is a strange map. Grade B-, difficulty D. E2M8, Sheol. If you're gonna mail it in for one map in your Doom 1 megawad, the obligatory Cyber Showdown is a good one to pick. Sheol's premise is identical to Tower of Babel, except now it's dark, there's damaging floor, and there's a strobe effect on the walking path. This is a rare Stickney map that I enjoy less than its Doom 1 corollary. Grade D, difficulty D. E3M1, Maelstrom. This low-calorie hell episode opener crunches you between imps and a Kako-led Pinky Brigade on a donut half submerged in lava. Keep pumping that shotgun, climb the stairs, and hop to the ridge for an armor and a rocket launcher. I love the lack of self-consciousness about Maelstrom's 1-minute clear time. More of that, please. Grade B, difficulty D-. E3M2, Soulless. Holy sh**. Ouch. Soulless is Stickney Installation's most punishing turn. It demands bravery and stinginess if you want to survive. Shotgunners and guarded stashes and crannies are your sole source of ammo and health, and if you want the chain gun, rocket launcher, or berserk, you have to bring the whole outpost down on your head. Also, Soulless my ass. This map is clotted with flaming skulls, which, absent air traffic control, fight like cats and dogs with a cornucopia of Kakos. This is the most unfriendly map in the megawad for impatient players. I was ripped to shreds from my hubris here more than in all of Stickney so far. Soulless is a pivotal map not just for its increased cruelty, it seems to have emboldened Snaxalotl to rely more on her own instincts and take more abstract inspiration from id's work. Grade A-, difficulty B+. E3M3, Crimson Manse. Crimson Manse is a bundle of dynamite, a delirious one-man war against a topped-off hellkeep wedged in an open wound. The action is as focused as a diamond drill bit, locking the player in frantic analysis mode while they scramble for guns and power-ups. Under the influence of Invuln and Berserk, you can go absolutely apeshit, and it's beautiful. If you want to clean up with overkill, shoot this hidden switch for a secret BFG. Crimson Manse is one of my all-time favorite maps in the under 5-minute category. This is what Doom is all about. Grade A+, difficulty C. E3M4, Terrorformer. It may be made of flesh and blood, but Terrorformer has ice in its veins. Second only to E2M6 in terms of raw trepidation, Terrorformer once again punishes heedless play and maintains a high fear factor for its entire duration. Aesthetically, Snaxalotl is in her element here, coiling umbral blood-flecked corridors around a lovingly wrought flesh and metal Baron Juicer. Anybody who's played House of Pain should hear alarm bells when they see this teleporter. The yellow and red keys are heavily guarded by pinkies, specters, and assorted flyers. The latter stage contains the most chilling moment in Stickney. You'll probably have all the kills by the time you pick up the red key, but when you do, spinal walls will rise up to block your path, as if the map itself is whispering, "Stay here with me." I find that the more these maps deviate from their inspirations, the more I like them. Grade A, difficulty C. E3M5, Veiled Monastery. A slightly saner version of Crimson Manse, Veiled Monastery is a single structure steeping in blood, overrun by a mass of demons who want to pin you in a corner and eat you. Walking through front doors in Doom maps discomforts me, and Snax rewards that sort of paranoia with cells and a rad suit that you can use to penetrate the demon defenses and sow confusion. Just like an unholy cathedral, I have no idea what's up with these teleporters. One of them moves you 10 feet backwards, another drops you into a herd of pinkies and gives you God Berserk again. Cool. I dig the fire blue runes and queasy body horror aesthetic, but I did find some texturing oddities here and there which have, I believe, been fixed as of this video's air date. Small potatoes. The action is great, and Snaxalotl makes it look easy. Grade A-, difficulty C. E3M6, Inferno, in which the sails of Stickney's third episode finally begin to sag. Just a bit. This molten mosh pit is one of the most free-form maps in the megawad. All you have to do is press 4 switches and find the blue key and you can dip. Inferno's high body count belies its paunch. If you hold your fire, find the free rad suit, and make loops around the lava circuit, you can essentially accumulate followers and cull them at your leisure. I guess I'm trying to say this map feels too permissive. Unless you play like a pinhead, there's almost no pressure, and therefore no excitement, though I do admit it's quite the rush to tee off on the closest thing this megawad has to a Caco cloud. Remember to save a rocket, or you'll need to cheat to reach the secret map. Grade B, difficulty D+. E3M9, Gantlat. This rug-pulling rewrite of Stickney E3M1 is similar in entertainment and comedic value to Pain Per View. Once again, it implements a Sandy Peterson gimmick better than he did, giving the player deja vu before battering them with cyber rockets and a flock of floating miscreants which can be weathered with patience or a bit of courage. Gantlat is a good map to blow off steam to. Grade B, difficulty C. E3M7, Aorta. A chugging brutality machine with a MIDI to match, Aorta totally scraps Limbo as a conceptual framework and condenses Stickney's Hell as a Sandbox concept into a mangled network of metallic blood vessels, crushers, and cacodemons. The opening minute is extremely tetchy, but given an inch of breathing room and some decent guns, you can topple it fairly quickly. The crushers aren't as threatening as they look, but they still make me anxious. Ironically, the mazy layout fills half of Aorta's runtime with cleanup and key hunting, just like Limbo. At least you don't have to worry about rad suits. Grade B+, difficulty C-. E3M8, Din. Snaxalotl beats the odds again. The Spider Mastermind is notoriously difficult to use as an actual boss monster, but for the second time in this megawad, barrels prove an unlikely savior. The barrels are the biggest hazard of the fight, doubling as obstacles, blocking your ammo, and a deadly grenade attack for the Arachnid Empress. I confess, this map kind of stumps me. Deciding when and what to shoot, cycling around the room for cover, and dealing with the teleporting Baron of ADHD ends up being a lot of variables to juggle, and this time around, the Spider definitely outsmarted me. My poor play notwithstanding, I think this is one of the most novel vanilla Doom boss battles around. Grade A-, difficulty B. E4M1, Ingress. As expected, Thy Snacks Consumed kicks off with a chorus of shotgun blasts and snarling pigs. American McGee can be felt in the cramped, poisonous layout and slim health allotment. Ingress is actually 20 times more generous than him, offering the player 4 medikits and a berserk, so there's really no excuse to die. Punch barons to feel like you have control of your life, watch out for specters when you're rocketing, and you should be able to make it out of this one alive. If there's a 9-inch nail secret around here somewhere, I didn't find it. Grade B-, difficulty C. E4M2, Crepuscule. An insidious love child of Romero's perfect hatred and against thee wickedly, Crepuscule merges E4M2's treacherous lava-soaked layout and plasma-powered action with E4M6's infamous cyber sniper. Make that 2 cyber snipers. The twins' shelling makes a great initial diversion, but once everything in the center dies, navigating around their rocket barrage is incredibly annoying, and I always dread the final confrontation. Even with a heap of cells and a BFG, this is not pleasant. Leap to the back side of this teleporter to warp to the secret map. It just so happens that I know Perfect Hatred is Snaxalotl's favorite Doom 1 map, which explains why Crepuscule cribs so much from it, but I think Stickney shines brightest when id Software's stylings take the back seat. Grade C+, difficulty A-. E4M9, Fish. I've come to think of Fish as Stickney's strongest secret map. It revitalizes Tim Willits' beige original, packs a ton of fight into a tiny package, anchors itself in your memory with a single relentless cyber demon, and gives this ultimate MIDI pack track by Lipith an even better spotlight than Demon Housing did. Winning a high-stakes game of Marco Polo with Senor Saive gives you a window to punch through the goons on the perimeter and get to the cell stash, which should be more than enough to finish the job. Fish is good, aggressive stuff. Grade B+, difficulty B-. E4M3, Primeval Archives. Another handsome monster playground to joyride through, Primeval Archives takes the difficulty down a notch but sacrifices none of the urgency Snaxalotl's combat is known for. The fiery red key compound is a gusher, so scurry for the plasma and chain gun to keep the procession at bay. I like how this switch performs the subtle double duty of raising the lava to the red key and bridging the gap to the other side of the map. A much more elegant solution than those weird ramps from Sever the Wicked. Archives goes out with a whimper, and I wish I could get the rocket launcher earlier, but the frenetic start makes a hell of a splash. Grade A-, difficulty C+. E4M4, Blind Fury. Blind Fury immediately stabs you with steroids and a big green suppository, and that's enough to make anybody go a little mad. Use your 30 seconds of invuln wisely because there's no other health on the map besides one secret soul sphere. I'd take this rabid 2-minute frolic over unruly evil any day. Also, nice torch. Grade B+, difficulty C-. E4M5, Sanguine Aqueduct. Another outstanding renovation of subpar Tim Willett's work, Sanguine Aqueduct smothers the player in gloom and demon meat right from the start. This is another flourish of Snaxalotl's gift for damaging floor use. She discourages fear of the poison blood short term, but motivates the slow of foot with hazmat suit scarcity later in the map. It's more exciting than it is merciless. I wasted both rad suits and the secret invuln during this recording and still made it out okay. The midstream ambushes aren't quite as engaging as the opening blowout, but this is another example of a Snax map's atmosphere picking up the slack in quiet moments. Ain't Dr. Seuss. Grade B+, difficulty C. Footnote: what's going on with this random hidden shotgunner? E4M6, Ashen Redoubt. It's kind of ironic. Romero's Thy Flesh Consumed maps are two of its strongest, and Snaxalotl's fondness for them makes her E4M2 and E4M6 weaker. A near shot-for-shot remake of Against Thee Wickedly, Ashen Redoubt recreates its soot-covered start, marble castle and four-way teleport junction, red key dungeon, lava-filled backyard, and high-pressure ending. Snax is more lenient with space, rockets, and rad suits than Romero, but that's probably to compensate for the second cyber demon and oppressive quantities of specters and sergeants. There's an invuln behind a red door by the exit, but no way am I teleporting next to a pair of cyber demons for it. The split second of immobility is a death sentence. I don't think this map is as difficult as I made it look, or even harder than Romero's. I slightly prefer his version. Grade B-, difficulty B+. E4M7, Sleep of Reason. Stickney's last map to hold your breath to. Sleep of Reason combines John Anderson's lighting and creep factor with Snaxified action. It's got a stack of dense corridor shootouts and whiplash traps. The teleport to the red key always catches me off guard, as does the ferocious surround sound ambush when you open the yellow door. I think it's worth cheesing this dungeon in the interest of saving health, but there's no cheaping out the final fight. A dead Baron always means hold on to your butts. Tight quarters actually work to your advantage here, because the Barons have a tough time not hitting Cyb, who will happily sign their death certificates for you. I got lucky to trap him in one of these Baron pillboxes this time, but I don't necessarily recommend that strategy. On to the finale. Grade B, difficulty B. E4M8, Monolith. Behold the source of Stickney's great evil. Monolith is not the subtlest of megawad enders. Slap this face switch, survive a geyser of teleporting foes until the BFG lowers, and smite the survivors for a chance to pet this malevolent pillar. I didn't expect a straightforward slaughter conclusion to this set, nor did I enjoy getting roughed up in my first handful of BFG-less attempts, but the flayed biomechanical architecture and unconventional take on Ultimate Doom's main antagonist sticks in my head. Grade B-, difficulty B. So, Stickney Installation has no business tickling my fancy as much as it does. It's the only iWAD-inspired Vanilla Doom 1WAD that's ever done anything for me, and I attribute its appeal to Snaxalotl's handle on combat and its dark detours. Stickney's best maps fearlessly rewire id's lousiest ideas or pitch them entirely, and its occasional missteps are mostly due to redundancy and not a lack of entertainment value. Stickney's snack-sized maps, if you'll pardon the expression, make it accessible and replayable, and repeat exposure to it really gets you excited to see what Snaxalotl has in store for us. This entire megawad came together in 2 months. Imagine what you could do with a longer build time, a few extra monsters, a super shotgun. Now I'm getting ahead of myself. I recommend this megawad to anyone who's skeptical of Doom 1 combat and needs a refresh on the look and feel of the stock maps. My final grade for Stickney Installation is an A-. Difficulty-wise, Stickney may surprise you here and there, but doesn't go for the throat until E4, at which point all bets are always assumed to be off. C- seems appropriate, just a tad harder than Thy Flesh Consumed, all told. Now for my Dean's List. Valedictorian, E3M3, Crimson Manse. Salutatorian, E3M4, Terraformer. Class President, E4M2, Crepuscule, and the dunce cap goes to E2M8, Shale. 9 maps from Stickney made the honor roll. They are E1M3, Filtration Plant, E1M8, Phobos Gate, E2M3, Nuke Works, E2M4, E2M6, Maintenance Network, E3M2, Soulless, E3M5, Veiled Monastery, E3M8, Din, and E4M3, Primeval Archives. The second half of our Doom 1 doubleheader will be dedicated to Solar Struggle, a limit-removing community project from 2022 led by Violent Beetle that showcases some of the strongest talent in modern Doom mapping. The first thing that caught my eye about Solar Struggle was its fun and colorful M Doom logo, but at the sight of Ultimate Doom Comp Level 3, I immediately blanched and clicked away. A few months later, I returned to it with a more open mind, and boy am I glad I did. Solar Struggle's story revolves around a conveniently timed demonic invasion which springs Doomguy the space criminal from a prison on Titan. He'll have to hopscotch across the solar system, blasting through armies of demons one pump at a time to win his freedom. If Stickney Installation renews my faith in Doom 1's combat, Solar Struggle goes a long way towards rehabilitating the image of the modern community project, dropping my jaw with its creativity, coherence, and pure love for the craft. This is a must-play for all Doom 1 holdouts. No need to reread the rules, but before we dive in, note that I'll be switching to DSDA Doom for Solar Struggle's 4th episode because Z-Doom doesn't cooperate with UMap info, and the music will get messed up if I use it. Now to the WAD. E1M1 Detention Facility. Everybody in the whole cell block was dancing to the shotgun blues. Detention Facility lays at a delightful mix of firecracker fights enlivened by an elegant, suspenseful, and very underrated Stewboy MIDI. Sigil veterans can get themselves an early backpack, and Myolden stashes one of his signature Soul Sphere secrets behind a mismatched wall. The lifelike setting, comfy natural backdrop, and small details like the light coming through these bars make Detention Facility an especially comfortable visit and a splendid warm-up for the rest of the set. Grade A-, difficulty D-. E1M2 Admin Offices. I'd be enamored with admin offices even if it didn't have a single monster to shoot. The workaday sights of bathrooms, cubicles, bananas, water coolers, and paper jams totally upstage Picadum's world of corporate gloss and ultra-modern decor. Picadum Mizimiz seems to like making the player interact with water receptacles to unlock prizes in his maps. He did the same thing in Ray Mohawk 2. Its detailing is the obvious star of the show, but Admin Office's combat doesn't slouch. I especially like the final fight, which hands you a heap of meat to grind up. If you climb this defiled toilet and scoot through the ductwork for a chain gun, you shouldn't break a sweat. Solar Struggle's opening 1-2 punch is hard to beat. Myolden gets his foot in the door, and Picadum kicks it wide open. Grade A, difficulty E. E1M3 Barracks. Well fortified but highly accommodating, Barracks is bolstered by a strong choice of MIDI. Jimmy and Doom Kid's remix of Let's Kill at Will from TNT Evolution. The zombified jarheads stand no chance against a fully loaded chain gun. Avid wall humpers can also land themselves a rocket launcher and mega armor. This nested secret is probably the high point of the map, a fitting reference to E1M9 and a reminder to look for Barracks' secret exit. Suffer through an MRI in the nightmarish medical quarter, shoot the funny sign, and avoid stepping on the actual exit to hop the rails. Grade B, difficulty D-. E1M9 Excavation Area. If you ever feel like your Doom map isn't up to snuff, it's never too late to fill it with big guns and hordes of weaklings. The linear and somewhat rough-hewn Excavation Area does exactly that. The yellow key trap floods the complex with knee-deep in the Deadites, and Late Night Person gives you a rocket launcher just in time for a hootenanny in the dig site. I know it's just circle strafing and holding down fire, but I eat this shit up. The gotcha ambush in the last room is also brainless fun, and when it comes to Doom, there's nothing wrong with brainless fun. Grade B-, difficulty D-. E1M4 Mineral Processing. This freewheeling Death Bear map is full of goodies to find and gobs of monsters to blitz through. The cavern crannies are full of loot, and you're encouraged to make your own path by sloshing around in poison. Be adventurous. There are no mistakes here. The non-linear composition, tasty fights, and abundance of optional content all boost Mineral Processing's replayability immensely, and of course its pitch-perfect choice of Gym MIDI adds to the joy of the whole experience. The Rocket Palooza at the end puts 2 exclamation points on an unabashed romp of a level. Mineral Processing is the map that committed me to a full playthrough of Solar Struggle. Grade A, difficulty D. E1M5 Mining Complex. I think my first experience with this Maverick mini-adventure greatly affected my opinion of it. Mining Complex's mainline progression is full of rapid-fire fights and fleshed-out visuals, but its dark underbelly is much more noteworthy. I was lucky enough to plumb its depths on first go-around. You have to get a little lucky to find the main attraction, since it's buried 3 layers deep in secrets. I'll show you the first 2 steps here, because I want you all to see it, but not on Dean of Doom. I really like Mining Complex's disregard for convention. Rata Underground lets you pick between 2 yellow keys, regularly offers you backdoor approaches to fights, marks secrets however he feels like, lets you traipse around in areas you feel like you don't belong in, and commits to a grimy art style that makes the stock textures feel fresh. This one's a keeper. Grade A, difficulty difficulty D+. E1M6, Visitor Center. Visitor Center is a pinball machine of whiz-bangs and explosions. Its library, rec room, gift shop, and courtyard ready-made for careening through on the winged heels of rockets, smoke, and lead. Perhaps not coincidentally, Visitor Center is one of Titan's most hospitable locales, topping the player off with health, armor, and ammo even after minor skirmishes. Shawnee's handsome brown baseline theme creates some lovely opportunities for contrast, and his deft detailing almost steals the show from the action. Visitor Center maxes out my rubric in every category. Grade A, difficulty D-. E1M7, Traffic Control. Ludicrous jibs ahoy! This Startan slathered outpost overflows with squishy foes, giving you the option to pig out with the rocket launcher or savor the monster buffet one bite at a time. The shotgun has rarely felt so powerful. It chews these large crowds up 2 or 3 zombies at a time, or faster still with barrels handy. Traffic Control's full-bore action makes it easy to overlook its symmetry, straightforward progression, and somewhat clunky decoration, but the subway station finale is always a letdown. The monsters tend to get caught in this pocket and argue each other to death. Traffic Control is a crowd pleaser, but it lacks subtlety. Grade B, difficulty D. E1M8, Huygens Spaceport. We can only hope that the actual Huygens space probe, which landed on Titan in 2005, doesn't look like this today. Project leader Violent Beetle closes out E1 with an impressively decrepit piece of work. Huygens Spaceport cracks, splits, flickers, and bleeds the part of a great sci-fi horror setting, but I think Beetle went a tiny bit overboard. No other mapper in this megawad details with a finer tooth comb. The slice of tomato pie, shattered coffee mug, and various trifles around the base are cool, and also take me out of the scene in a big way. Beetle's barren boss battle benefits from the chaos its flying foes cause, but dropping them turns this fight into a simple rocket merry-go-round. Props to Beetle for his props, but they do kind of overwhelm his gameplay. Grade B+, difficulty D+. Footnote, please take Huygens' grade with an asterisk. I believe Jamie Robertson's The End Is Nigh has a sacred bond with Plutonia 2 Map 20. Seeing it used elsewhere bothers me irrationally. E2M1, Piazzi Spaceport. The spaceship parked behind Huygens only had enough fuel to carry you to the asteroid belt. Word of the wise, these rocks aren't as dead as they look. Piazzi is a chain gun only map unless you get a shotgunner to fling himself off his perch or uncover this secret passage to the plasma rifle. Both are fun to get, neither are necessary. The low-powered opposition mixes comfortably with the rocky setting. This is a very relaxing map. Grade B+, difficulty D-. E2M2, Storage Complex. This out-of-the-blue iWad reimagining stalls Solar Struggle's engine. It's the first map in this wad I did not enjoy, but I don't think that's Wavy's fault exactly. Storage Complex is a languid, atmospheric, and insistently vertical map. It's tricky to navigate, often forcing the player to reach the end of a particular route before allowing them to backtrack, and it's pretty carefree about structuring fights, which is at odds with Solar Struggle's prevailing emphasis on action. Storage Complex feels longer than it is, which I blame on Wavy's inflexible pathing, Complex's tendency to ferret away monsters in cubbies, and the demons from Adrian's trap house. Ick. The eerie visuals, inspired equally by Sandy, Tom, and Sigil-era John, are slightly muddied by the dim but not quite dark lighting and the occasional texture misalignment. Storage Complex would hit all the right beats in a project like No End in Sight, but feels like a misfire here. Grade C+, difficulty D+. E2M3, Stock Exchange. This electrifying map hits harder than a line of cocaine in a Wall Street bathroom stall. Stock Exchange channels the same gold-collar chic as Picata Mizimiz's E1M2, but invests more in its combat. DFF keeps the adrenaline pumping from opening bell to final trade. The flood of pinkies, zombies, and imps at the start sets a blistering pace. The rocket launcher fight with the Kako and Baron turrets is phenomenal, but the blue key bloodletting on the sales floor is still tamer than the New York Stock Exchange at 3:59 p.m. I encourage digging around after close for secret content. You'll find some sweet rewards and unearth some lore illustrating how Ceres' financial district came to be corrupted. Hint, it had nothing to do with the housing market. Stock Exchange has got it all. Drama, polish, intrigue, and a MIDI that glistens. Grade A, difficulty C. E2M4, Air Filtration Plant. This map is awfully chipper for being an underground cinder block. Air Filtration Plant gets a buzz off its jaunty MIDI and pads out 2 tricky fights with swaths of easily chain-gunnable imps and zombos. Don't neglect the rocket launcher in this Kako Pinky Crunch, and this quadruple Baron fight can be softened if you take a dive into the ductwork beforehand. There's a secret plasma rifle stashed in there. This mega armor secret that you have to ride a piston up to this ledge for is really clever, and this drainage sequence near the end is oddly satisfying. Grade B+, difficulty D+. E2M5, Abandoned Tunnels. This dilapidated basement is full of 3 things: poison puddles, rockets, and cacodemons. Violent Beetle's affinity for crumbling, line-def heavy environments serves him well here. It's less flashy than E1M8 and cozy in a certain light. Maybe that's just Stewboy working his magic. Despite its cramped layout, Abandoned Tunnels pushes explosives on you like it's got a quota to fill. You want me to use rockets, Beetle? Okay. I like it when secret exits are easy to find because it makes me feel smart. There, I said it. Grade B+, difficulty D. E2M9, Artifact Storage. This gallery of curiosities doesn't make a whole lot of sense except as a detour in E2. It's less that Ceres' carnage is visually unified, and more that artifact storage could belong to almost any megawad. These quaint exhibits and the possibly accidental smiley face on the wall are cute, sure, but this brown cave with its useless clumps of foes is pretty weak, as is the Caco quadruplet at the end. Does anybody else find it funny that cacodemons lower with elevators even though they can fly? I don't dislike artifact storage because it's fast and simple, but it's not necessarily worth postponing E2M6 for either. Grade C+, difficulty D. E2M6, Transport Nexus. At the time of this episode's airing, I've only played 2 Jark maps, and 2 maps is all it took to convince me that he's one of the most distinctive designers in the Doom scene today. Delightfully eerie, roguish, and dangerous, Transport Nexus steals the episode with a blend of searing fights and simmering in-betweens. This map might as well be a treatise on lighting. There's care and passion in every gradient and stripe of brightness, and the result is absorbing. To say Transport Nexus is a slight case of demonic corruption would be an understatement. The tentacular takeover is inescapable, and worse yet, it seems to be aware of you. Luckily, the superorganism chowing down on this place doesn't know about all the secrets. Without spoiling the fun for future solar strugglers, there's a super secret yellow key somewhere around here, and you'll need to keep your eyes sharp and your ears open if you want to find it and profit. Jark lays the barons on heavy, but not without imagination. In a harrowing sequence, this jump scare bruiser bro shoves you into a gore pit to be hunted by him and his teleporting buds, and more warping shenanigans ensue during the pink fight by the research complex entrance, which is the next map, by the way. That's one hell of an alley-oop from map to map in a community project. Transport Nexus totally submerges the player in its dark and quirky world. It's one of Solar Struggle's standouts. Grade A, difficulty C+. E2M7, Research Complex. With a combination of Cannonball, Doom 1, and Gutter Penny, how the hell can you lose? Research Complex is a well-oiled massacre machine made of interlocking honeycomb structures packed to the gills with shotgunners, cacodemons, and barons. For those who are familiar, Research Complex is all the hallmarks of Cannonball's Return to Hadron series, which would have been part 3 for this episode if I wanted to make Dean of Doom the movie. The sublime distribution of health, arms, ammo, and bad guys lets the player hurtle through the chaos at 100 miles an hour so long as their aim is true, and the whole thing culminates in gleeful mass murder at the mouth of Ceres' molten core. This is a slam dunk from one of Doom 1 mapping's old masters. Grade A, difficulty B. E2M8, Ceres Gateway. Slaughter aficionado Nephilim Beta treats us to a jibtastic last hurrah for the Ceres episode. Despite its bulging monster count, Ceres Gateway plays briskly, especially once you get your mitts on the rocket launcher. The 2 mid-level lock-in fights are extra lethal due to the increased chance of sharing a rocket with a pinky like Lady and the Tramp shared spaghetti. Nephilim Beta's visuals suffer a bit from excessive brightness and lack of lighting variety, though the ending does attempt to rectify that. This strobing corridor of carnage can fill a full minute with plasma fire. Keep an eye on Admiral Saib and melt his teleporting lackeys while sprinting in a circular motion to claim victory. Grade B+, difficulty B-. Moon Madness. You mean lunacy? E3M1, Lunar Gateway. A mysterious opener made with a careful hand, Lunar Gateway is one of the only maps in Solar Struggle to encourage pistol use by limiting shells severely. The Caco cluster at the start will panic players who are down to their pea shooters, funneling them through the complex with a trail of red and yellow breadcrumbs. Replays definitely enriched the experience of this map for me. The more secrets you find, the more Lord Entropy peels back his map's innocent facade. One particularly obscure shootable switch grants you an audience with the base's malevolent core. The berserk you obtain here is invaluable for polishing off demons without hitting E on ammo. Lunar Gateway's shifting scenery, tight resource balance, and solid combat make it one of Solar Struggle's most impressive maps. Grade A, difficulty C. E3M2, Tranquility Terminal. This snappy moon-based shoot-'em-up plays like a sophomore Skillsaw major's midterm project. When you see a barren face wall appear, it means angry ungulates are incoming. A very clever touch, but I wish a few of them were Hell Knights. The Caco-heavy ending is my favorite part of the map. You can have a lot of fun here if you save more rockets than I did. I'm willing to accept that this is a personal bias if no one agrees with me here, but I think choosing a MIDI that already has strong ties to another map is more likely to hurt than help. In the case of Hate Machine, there's no way in hell I can disentangle it from the memory of opening Sigil for the first time. Grade B, difficulty C. E3M3, Deep Space Observatory. The exceedingly comfy Deep Space Observatory is like a junior version of Yugi Boy 85's Man on the Moon. It's a lunar 3-key search and find with a standout secret fight involving a plasma weapon. Tag this shootable switch and step through the portal portal for a good time. The Valiant Lunatic influence is more prevalent here than in Solar Struggle's other moon maps. Skillsaw draws buildings similarly, and Dax shares his affinity for rocket fests. I'm wowed by the planning that must have gone into this crazy secret Soul Sphere jump, and I dig Dax's permissive health and ammo allowance because sometimes I like to play like a maniac. Grade B+, difficulty D+. E3M4, Fusion Plant. Speed mapping mastermind Blue Pineapple 72 brings another dose of Doomcute to Solar Struggle. Fusion Plant overflows with bits and bobs, wreckage, vehicles, furniture, and machinery. I had some trouble finding the way forward initially, and I blame overstimulation. Wiggle through this bathroom crevice and you're en route to the red and yellow keys, the only two you need to exit. Taking the road less traveled to the blue key earns you an early access plasma rifle and a stash of extra munitions in the final fight. The Cyber Demon presiding over this lava-damaged factory floor is much less intimidating with a game plan. Toast these cacos first. They guard a switch that raises a lift which carries you to higher ground where you can liquefy Cyb uninterrupted. Fusion Plant's dense visuals and rocket-centric action bruised and confused me on first encounter, but it's almost over-generous now that I've gotten the hang of it, and the visuals hold up quite well. Grade B+, difficulty C+. E3M5.
Helium Refinery. One of E3's lowlights, Helium Refinery reminds me of No End in Sight's middle maps. The huge circular structures invoke Zazer, it leans on pwad standard texture combinations, and its action trundles. These fights won't threaten anyone with an ounce of patience, and the floppy pace of play isn't helped by the dull MIDI choice. I don't see the point of remixing Bobby Prince if you're barely gonna add anything to it. Squinting through this hellish silo is a pain, so find the light amp goggles, chew through some hefties, and breeze through one last dribbly ambush to close this one out.
Seriously though, Helium Refinery falls short of Solar Struggle's standard action-wise. Grade C+, difficulty C-. E3M6, Deep Crust Borehole. Myolden's work is so easy to enjoy. Hopped up on good vibes from its bouncy MIDI and stuffed with popcorn fights and sneaky secrets, Deep Crust Borehole rewards cursory first playthroughs and close examinations equally. Myolden deftly overlaps the main path with the starting area, creates tasty detours for guns and goodies that don't slow your momentum, and makes bold use of height changes. Sniff out the early BFG before initiating this gore-splattered descent into a lunar ravine, where you can make a leap of faith into an even deeper gulch for more supplies. The BFG completely wrecks the difficulty curve, especially at the end, but it's a nice reprieve from the hyper-optimized stuff that's commonplace today. Don't forget to backtrack with the yellow key if you want to find the secret exit. Grade A-, difficulty C. E3M9, The Dark Side. I'm guessing this needed a polish from Violent Beetle to make the cut. The Dark Side is composed of several blunt event fights that trigger when you pick up guns, keys, or power-ups. Only one of them takes any finesse to survive. The tripwired blue key drops you into a plus sign with a Cyber Demon. Scoot around him, hit the switch to the south, and book it for the ammo stash that lowers. I wouldn't unleash this hullabaloo before completing your weapon collection, but if you have to duck into a gun pit to resupply, the block monster lines will make your escape a bit easier. The Dark Side softcore slaughter wants for Doom 2 enemies to mix things up, but it's still plenty of fun if you don't think about it too hard. Grade B-, difficulty B-. E3M7, Freight Terminal. A rare map that confirms Solar Struggle's identity as a community project, Freight Terminal is noticeably scruffier and less enjoyable than the gems it's rubbing shoulders with. This map has some texturing issues, and the grain of its detailing is inconsistent. Obvious errors notwithstanding, Freight Terminal is not very pleasing to look at and makes discomfiting use of off textures. They look like secrets, but they aren't. I understand the temptation to put random Doomcute in an otherwise chunkily detailed map because I've done it myself, but generally speaking it's not good practice. On the gameplay side, Freight Terminal's first half toys with ammo deprivation, but inexplicably blows its load on a big sloppy BFG fest at the end, and its Baron usage is just dreadful. This right here is the single worst room in Solar Struggle. On the bright side, Meme Mind and this megawad can only improve from here. Grade D, difficulty C-. E3M8, Space Elevator. This thrilling episode send-off pits you against a spider mastermind's cohort in a massive launchpad crater. The fierce initial opposition and the central structure's terrific scale create that delicious Doom-flavored feeling of the bigger they are, the harder they fall. You're stuck with a shotgun and chain gun until you find two eye switches, which lower the viscera wall blocking the blue key. If you prioritize hit scanners and mop up most of the riffraff before grabbing it, you'll make the second phase of this fight much easier. When Spidey appears, the only windbreaks from her chain gun fire are the elevator supports and Baron meat shields. That's the only flaw in this map. The Spider Queen and her mutinous pink vassals are hapless at killing each other, which makes the final showdown with Big Brain a bit anticlimactic. Grade A-, difficulty C+. Changing ports. One moment, please. E4M1, Docking Station. Suspended in the greenhouse haze of Venus's atmosphere, Docking Station looms large in my mental picture of this megawad. It's the most visually arresting, tightly calibrated opener in the set, built around high-stakes rocket combat. Ignore everything at the start and island hop to a pair of switches that unlock your bazooka. If you take a wrong turn, you'll be swarmed. Even armed, you're to consider yourself in danger as long as enemies remain alive. I usually take more splash damage than monster damage in this map, and that's my fault. Lord Entropy makes perfect use of every monster variety. Pinkies pack the house, Barons blockade you, Cacos backstab, potshot and bite, and imp clusters scatter like piñata candy. The only real downside of Docking Station is how hard an act it is to follow. Grade A, difficulty B. E4M2, Customs Office. Busy, busy, busy. Customs Office is a discordant clamor of ideas, all vying for the player's attention at once. The flamboyant texturing, fixation with barrel fireworks, painstaking details, and rigidly scripted optional ending would be simpler to comment on in isolation, but the dissonance they create when taken together makes my brain seize up. Most of Anarchy's fights dismantle themselves, especially if you find the rocket launcher behind the front desk in the first room, but this fidgety mastermind is agonizing to peekaboo, and there are an awful lot of monsters dressing windows and hidden in strange places. Punching this demon on a whim led me to accidentally discover that attacking its cage summons 4 otherwise unkillable pinkies. Bizarre. If you don't notice this red trident on the floor, you won't unlock the secret exit. The blue skull that the secret reveals initiates a merry chase to the other 2 colorful craniums. This map is chaotic, long-winded, and eccentric. Not my cup of tea, but it'll definitely be somebody else's. Grade C+, difficulty B-. E4M9, Cult Headquarters. Another round of applause for Team Solar Struggle's continuity department. The trident symbols in E4M2 foreshadowed Cult Headquarters, a floating battleground possibly inspired by Doom Eternal's arena-based combat. The layout is extremely flat and symmetrical. You'll spend most of your energy evading Baron turret fireballs, conserving ammo, and keeping packs of pinkies at a safe distance. The Cyber Demon, stinging shotgunners, and unpredictable teleports make the final fight especially hazardous. The upside is you get enough ammo to brute force it and dispatch any stragglers back at the start. Mark Clem's Junkie Smack does some heavy lifting on this front, but Cult Headquarters is the secret map I look forward to most in Solar Struggle. Grade B, difficulty B-. E4M3, Commercial District. This concrete killing floor is one of the hottest starts in the megawad. As soon as you fire a shot, the place erupts in hisses, screeches, and roars. Calamity comes flooding in from all directions. A Zom battalion blunders between dueling masterminds, a flock of pinkies throngs the outer courtyard, and later a downpour of Cacos and Barons will sledgehammer this place, unless the Cyber Demons get to him first. Rada Underground's restrained palette and brutal architecture make an excellent black box stage for a massacre. I only wish Rada could have maintained his opening's madcap energy for a little longer. See, this is why we need arch files. Grade A-, difficulty B. E4M4, Residential Areas. More like a goddamn penal colony. Residential Areas is thoroughly unenjoyable, and I think that's by design. DJV stocks his map with just 13 stims, 2 medikits, a single green armor, no berserk, and no soul spheres. That's slim pickings with all these shotgunners around. The map feeds you rockets only when you absolutely need them, and your fragile constitution will invariably force you to play those encounters safe. You're only allowed to loot 3 of the 8 houses at the start, and I've seen better decorated interiors in Memento Mori. At least the street lamps look nice. The map's 11 Barons are an ammo-sucking chore to kill unless you happen to punch this wall, in which case you now have 9 ammo-sucking Barons to deal with, and you're going to need the secret rocket stash for those. This map makes me grind my teeth. Grade D-, difficulty B+. E4M5, Waste Recycling Facility. Holy cow. Every once in a blue moon, you bump into a magnum opus whose technical skill, ease of access, and imagination are equal to its ambition. Waste Recycling Facility is a steamy love letter to knee-deep in the dead that discards all cliche. It's a masterstroke of Doom 1 combat, adventure mapping, and set decoration. This one map might be enough to place Man with Gun in the same league as Tourniquet when it comes to creating navigable, compulsively playable maps of extreme complexity. Waste Recycling's dense sprawl offers the player freedom to attack objectives in any order, distinguishes every area with distinct but consonant texturing, and allows you to quickly return to points of interest with teleporters once you've crossed critical thresholds. Man with Gun approaches aesthetics with laser focus. Waste Recycling Facility has a strong base of pragmatic, unshowy rooms that italicize its main attractions. The exterior shots are gorgeous, and the computer room is downright imposing, a dimly lit labyrinth that practically seethes at your intrusion. After all this talk of map construction, I won't have time to highlight the numerous brilliant encounters in this map, but it's accurate to say that Man with Gun's fight design is as flawlessly calculated as everything else he's done here. With some help from Mark Clem, Waste Recycling Facility generates a highly flammable form of suspense, and it will be your fiendish pleasure to ignite it. If Waste Recycling Facility has an Achilles heel, it's this crusher hallway. It's an egregious pain in the ass, but I can overlook it, especially since the super weapon it hides ought to be tough to acquire. I think everyone should aspire to Man with Gun's work ethic, testing rigor, and perfectionism, but his passion for the game isn't something you can practice. Grade A+, difficulty A-. E4M6 Mass Propulsion. Beyond any shadow of a doubt, Mass Propulsion is the most experimental map in Solar Struggle. It begins with a game of Cyberdemon hide and seek in an abandoned space station. SMG Man litters the place with power-ups, but you better arm yourself and work quickly if you don't want to be tomato paste. Don't feel like rocket punching two cybers to death? This seemingly useless switch leads to a secret plasma rifle. Take down Thing 1 and Thing 2, and it's time to wander the complex for a while, because I've got no clue what any of these switches do. After you unlock the yellow key, Mass Propulsion's focus disintegrates. Smacking this satyr opens multiple paths to the exit, and SMG Man doesn't seem to understand why you'd want to see them all. This marble maze on the station's hellish satellite completely escaped my notice on first playthrough, and this crusher sewer is a totally optional inconvenience. Most of the teleporting monsters clump around doors and corners, and the rest are content to meekly meander on balconies and windows while you tie up loose ends. I appreciate Mass Propulsion as a novelty, but a lot of it feels superfluous, and the post-cyber combat underwhelms. Grade B-, difficulty B+. E4M7, The Tether. A much-needed respite after E4M5 and 6's lengthy tours, The Tether stages a blowout battle and a shattered reminder of civilization drifting through the Venusian smog. Watch your health. This place hemorrhages hit scanners, and you only get 20 stims and 18 potions to heal up. I go back and forth about letting the cyber live to see the second round, but his absence seems to simplify things. Evolution's solemn intermission music creates a powerful sensation of this being your last stop, and wraps the map in a poignant, almost funerary quiet. Grade B+, difficulty B-. E4M8 Impact Site. Take a bow, Pink Flamingo. Impact Site is about as succinct and satisfying as megawad enders get. After a quick shootable eye switch demonstration, Flamingo pushes you into a ring of fire. You'll have to skirt the volcano perimeter under constant surveillance from a sniping mastermind, fend off the grunts, wash the itsy-bitsy spider out, and unload everything you've got on the contingent blocking the exit. This map gets incredible mileage out of brown ash wall, torches, and geoluminescent lava, and the grandeur of its mountainous horizon is very impressive. I've loved this ending from day one. It's beautiful, dramatic, and fun. Grade A, difficulty C+. So, it's been a long time since I restarted a megawad immediately after finishing it, but that's exactly what I did with Solar Struggle. It grabbed me from the opening maps, but it continued to fan the flames of my childlike excitement all the way to E4, which is admittedly a bit more of an acquired taste. Solar Struggle is a consistently high-quality, diverse, and expressive set of maps, and I frankly still can't believe how great its combat is. I was impressed and entertained by a long line of mappers I'd never heard of before, and they managed to do it without Revenants, Arachnotrons, Archviles, Mancubi, Hell Knights, Chain Gunners, Pain Elementals, Super Shotguns, Megaspheres, Ribbons, Tags, Packages, Boxes, or Bags. That is a stupendous accomplishment. This is one of my new all-time favorite megawads, and probably the best community project in recent memory. My final grade for Solar Struggle is an A. Difficulty-wise, it's fully accessible, even to newcomers of the first 3 episodes, just a shade harder than the original Doom, and if you can handle Thy Flesh Consumed, you're ready for Venusian violence. A C- seems fair. Now for my Dean's List. Valedictorian, E4M5, Waste Recycling Facility. Salutatorian is a 3-way tie because the other 3 episodes deserve representatives, so E1M2, Admin Offices, E2M6, Transport Nexus, and E3M1, Lunar Gateway. Class President, E4M5, Waste Recycling Facility, and the dunce cap goes to E4M4, Residential Areas. Solar Struggle has a long honor roll, so I'll read quick. E1M1, Detention Facility. E1M4, Mineral Processing. E1M5, Mining Complex. E1M6, Visitor Center. E2M3, Stock Exchange. E2M7, Research Complex. E3M6, Deep Crust Borehole. E3M8, Space Elevator. E4M1, Docking Station. E4M3, Commercial District, and E4M8, Impact Site. Thank you very much for watching, and please feel free to share your thoughts on the WAD down below. I'd love to hear what you think, and I'll heart your comments to let you know I've read them. Now I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge my generous patrons. Aaron Allen, Agile Jackson, Agu XYZ, Alephany, Alex Topfer, Artisan Talzar, Bo Higginbotham, Beatbeard, Ben Barrett, Big Psy and his trusty Glock, Birdburn, Blexor, Blind as a Mat, Builder Sith, Whitefire, Kappa-Bitch, Captain Wave, Cheese Wheel, Chris O'Neill, Christophine Place, Cutman Mike, Damo, Dan, Delirium, Doot Yourself, Dorothy Miller, Eggboy, Emeljan, Emma Essex, Endless Moose, Felix Wilson, Francis T218, Glenn Marmon, Griffin Upchurch, Hex Elix, Yakshow, In Captivity, Jeff Hibbert, Jeff Sharilla, Jose Ballestero, Josh Ballard, Jude, Just Some Schmuck, Just Great 98, Killplane, Quan, Large Cat, Lexi, Logan Lazalda, Lucrenth, Lumnal, Mancubian Candidate, Maniac, Mark Rowland, Master Drew 117, Matthew Gower, McJimbles, Michael Akins, Miracle Water, Mixer, Moko Mothman MM47, Mosicon, Mr. Bob Syndiquil, Myolden, Nafferty, Neurometry, Nick XCOM, Knights 108, Number 26, Not Obelisk, NX Avery, Omnibot, Painful Hill 72, Pengirzan, Pezavangaj, Phantom Puff, Philip Coffey, Pyro She, Quibs, Red Doomed Earth, Reese Anderson, Richard Fry, Roadworks, Robbie Lyons, Sega Monkey, Sean Grant, Sid Menon, Sir Lethbridge Doomer, Smole Venom, Snacker Fork, Some Spoony Bard, Spinner 8, Stonemason, Stupid Nick, Sunriser, Super Pecan Man, Sylvester Priss, Tarakushino, That Guy Known as Will, The Fiery Charmeleon, The Freeman 500, The Sapphire Try, TJG 1289, Trilby Trillion, Turbine 2K5, Ultra Cow, Why Bimo Not a Crab, William Huber, and Wonkashak. Thank you. I appreciate you all. This is Mount Pain 27, and I'll see you in the next episode of Dean of Doom.